Mauricio Pochettino's 3-4-2-1 formation will doom the United States men's national team at the 2026 World Cup. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. All right, so I'm going to talk about the formation in this video, but we're going to touch on some other things as well. First off the bat, if you've been watching Pochettino as he's playing through the friendlies leading up to what we have in May, which will be the 2 final send-off games, different lineup every single time. This is actually kind of disorienting to someone like me, where back in the day, I would say 2014 back all the way back to 94, I guess you could say, I had a familiarity with the players in the lineup appearing in these big games. But like I've said in past videos, I've been tapped out, so I'm sort of watching film and trying to gain familiarity with the top players in the United States men's national team in order to kind of enhance my watching of the World Cup games, particularly because it's being hosted in the United States. So this is a major cultural event, and I want to be familiar with who I'm going to be watching in the games. So in this video as well, I'm going to give my lineup that I would put in the game. But before we get to that lineup, but stay tuned, because I think I put together a great lineup. Before I get into some more comments about Pochettino. Although I've been tapped out, I was tapped in way back in 2016 when I watched Hull City play in the Premier League. And currently, if you ask me, Mike, what kind of soccer games do you watch? The answer is this. College, mostly D1, D3. But I also watch pro soccer, and that would be DL, basically. I don't watch Premier League anymore. To me, it's boring. And I stopped watching leagues outside of English football way back in 2016. I watch MLS? No. If there's a USL game on, I might watch a little bit of that. I watch like some PDL games here and there. So I'm not one of these people who's big on, La Liga, Bundesliga, Mexican leagues, English football, second division, and it's college. That's it. But anyway, Pochettino likes to do 3-4-2-1. So when I look at this, immediately it raises red flags, because traditionally, even shifting from 4-4-2 into a 3-4-3 is something that's done like late in the game when you're behind a goal. Maybe you've practiced it in, over the course of training and practices, so you know what to expect. But just to launch the team off rip with 3 guys in the back, to me, is a huge mistake. And let's read what the internet has to say about it. Playing with 3 in the back, for example, 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, is inherently risky because it often leaves teams vulnerable on the flanks and relies heavily on wingbacks to have high fitness to manage both playing offense and defense on both sides of the ball. While providing strong central defensive coverage and attacking overloads, a back 3 can create gaps, particularly against fast, wide attacks and high-pressing teams. Now, when I think of World Cup grade soccer, I definitely think of high press, basically. Fast, intense, high press. So, what it is it's an amplified environment where it's the intensity of a regular soccer match, like at the club level, but it's just amplified even further to levels, because there's so much pressure and there's so much at stake, where the intensity is just that much higher. Every moment matters. And it's all about who's going to have the most composure to play and not let the moment, bury them, basically. So the fact that Pochettino plays these formations, to me, is a red flag. I would stick with 4 in the back. But, and I'm going to explain now. I'm going to give you my lineup, and I'm going to explain. I see why maybe his little experiments here could yield results that could be good. But here's my lineup that I came up with. And I watched footage of everyone. I watched film of everybody evaluate. I have some other comments I'm going to make as well. All right, in the back, you got Miles Robinson, left back. 2 center backs, Serginho Dest, Tim Ream. Right back, Chris Richards. Now we're going to go into midfield. Left mid, Tyler Adams. 2 center mids, McKinney and Aronson. Right mid, Pulisic. Up top, Balogun, Haji Wright. That's my lineup. I'm going to explain, though, aspects of this lineup. 1, starting from the back. Oh, and goalkeeper, you got Fries, Turner, and Patrick Schulte, I think the guy's name. So Fries is number 1. Goalkeepers, let's see, you just choose the best guy. I think it's Fries. But let's start from the back. I'm going to give some comments on this lineup. So Miles Robinson at left, Dest in the back because he's quick and he's got skill. And I have him paired with Tim Ream. Now, I didn't know this, but Tim Ream is actually older than I am. He's 38 years old. He's, quote, absolutely ancient. So, a little bit of concern there, which is why, and I mentioned this guy in a previous video, you swap him out with Anthony Robinson. So you got Dest and Robinson center backs, and then on the outside you got Miles Robinson and Chris Richards. Seems pretty good. But the thing about it is, like, I can see how Pochettino could say, you know what, let's take 3 of those guys and put them in the back. Because if you have Dest and Anthony Robinson in the back, you'd think maybe you just add one more, and then, like, I don't know, it gets tricky though. But let's say in midfield, let's go to the midfield now. Tyler Adams, Aronson I liked a lot when I watched Aronson play, and I will make a comment now that may not sit well with people, but was critical of Gio Reyna, saying he ain't ready. And I'd like to point out, look at Aronson's mechanics, his body mechanics, right? And then look at Gio Reyna. You can find out more about body mechanics and why it's so important if you check out my book. I have a copy right here. Soccer American Style Journey to the NCAA. In the book, basically, I go over my whole career and I explain, towards the end of the book, this whole theory that I kind of articulate here about body mechanics. And basically at the end of my career, I was able to, like, get this fine tuning and this polishing to skills that I had ingrained into muscle memory at age 5 or 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. But then once I was 18 years old, I had, like, the final finishing touches of the body mechanics and explanations that really made everything click in my head and transformed my mechanics and brought me up to a level I had never experienced before. It's all in the book, Soccer American Style Journey to the NCAA. Get it on Amazon, link below. But yeah, I build up in the book, and then I explain this whole system, which I call the mind-body connection theory. But yeah, Aronson's mechanics are extremely good. And so definitely I want to start him. I thought about putting Pulisic in center mid, but when I watch Pulisic play, he seems more of a straightforward type of guy. So he wants to go straight. And there's a classic story from when I was a kid where I was on vacation with my parents in the car, and my dad was driving, my mom's sitting shotgun, and my dad keeps on missing exits that we're supposed to get off at. And it's like there's not another exit for like an hour, and he missed the exit. And my mother would had a meltdown and say, "What are you doing? You keep missing exits." And then he kept just saying the phrase, "I drive straight, I drive straight," and then she started mocking him, going, "I drive straight, I drive straight." But when I look at Pulisic, he's someone who says, "I drive straight," because he just runs straight, and he's very fast. Maybe fastest guy up top. That's going to be hard, though, because you got that Nigerian guy up top, Balogun, right? And Haji Wright's probably pretty fast, too. That's why I have them two up top. But yeah, last note on the midfield. Weston McKennie has been, I guess, out of form, and fitness is lacking, so if you know who should be in midfield other than Weston McKennie, let me know. I have no idea. But, yeah, that's my lineup. And so let's go over it again. Miles Robinson, Dest, and Tim Ream, which you can swap out with Anthony Robinson in the back, center backs. And then right back, Chris Richards. Midfield, you have the two center mids would be Aronson and Weston McKennie. And then left and right would be Tyler Adams and Pulisic. And then Balogun and Haji Wright up top. But I do see how Pochettino looks at that and goes, I want to play like a more like stacked down the center, whatever this ridiculous 3-4-2-1 thing that he wants to do. Because maybe you want to utilize Pulisic more so than just being a right midfielder. You want to put him in the center somehow, but I guess you could try that. But I still think that having 3 backs in a World Cup game is crazy. And I guess we'll see what he does. Also, the fact that every single time he coaches, he has a different lineup. I don't really like that because of the basic fact that, like, I don't know any of the players by this point. So it's kind of, like, bad for, like, you know, PR for the game and like fans, but that doesn't matter. But you don't have any, you haven't solidified anything. So how can you build a system where everyone's going to be, you know, you got to build the chemistry a little bit. So he should have had like more solid, at least get like 2 guys per each, 2 in the back, 2 in the midfield, 1 up top every single game, you know, and then rotate people around that core to, you know, but it's totally different every time. But I guess we'll see. But again, that's my lineup, and I'm going to be interested to see just how close I get to the final lineup. I can see when the last published starting 11 is here, and he had Matt Turner in net. He doesn't look good to me, though. Not recently. And he had Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, and Joe Scally. Midfield was Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Gianluca Busio. And then up top, you had Pulisic, Timothy Weah, and Balogun. Key absences included Tyler Adams, Chris Richards, and Miles Robinson, which are all in my lineup, I believe. All injured. And Weston McKennie scored in that game, despite the fact that he's like out of shape or something. Anyway, don't want the video to go too long now. Yeah, let me know what's wrong with my lineup. I'm going to pop it up on the screen as best I can. Have it up there, maybe. Write a comment down below, and I'll check you next time. See ya!